Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gentleman Psychic. Let me just change that position there a little tiny bit. That's a little better, maybe. Maybe I need to move this over. Okay, that's fine. So, hello, my darlings. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gentleman Psychic. Welcome back to Story Time. As you may or may not know, I am banned on the Book of Faces because I quoted Betty Davis. So I am still not able to post. D. Lucaro, hello, my dear. Good to see you. Mary Jane, good to see you too. Good evening. Shrouded Grove, good evening. Yes, I'm so excited. I know the clock is going to go off here in just about a moment. So I'm going to let that go before we really get into story time. I wanted to, talk a little about some announcements. So this week is going to be, this book is going to be a little. I'm going to try everything within my power to be consistent. Carnation, hello. I know that October is always going to be very troubling for me. So I'm going to be traveling quite a lot this month, and I'm going to be in Plattsburgh, New York for the Dark Waters Paracon. I will be briefly in Youngstown, Ohio. I will be also briefly in Los Angeles. So over the course of those 2 or 3 weeks, if I am near you, contact me and maybe we can meet for a reading or a picture, or maybe we can. I can't promise because I have so many people that are there, but maybe I can. John Maxwell, good evening. What else can I say tonight? So I'm going on next to no sleep, but that's quite all right because beauty sleep is only for those who need it, and I clearly don't need it. So I have had quite a busy day, busy few days since my car, Mr. Satan, is not running again. I know he's an old car, and you deal with it when you can. I will deal with it when I get back. Here's the clock. Okay. Also, hello, Mortician from Kentucky. Hello, my dear. Good to have you. And thank you, Shrouded Grove, for that. I wanted to introduce you a little bit to my necktie today. It's a real scream. I thought I would do that because it's Oh, thank you, Queen of Shadows. I really appreciate that. You and I, my dear, we have to have a little chat because there's some good things that I need to tell you. Um, I'll tell you later. I can't really say here, but hello, Sean Murray. Good evening. Good evening. Um, yes, I think Christina, Queen of Shadows. The things that I'm going to tell you, I know it's sort of being cryptic. The things that I'm going to tell you, I've told only one other, maybe two other friends, but I'm going to tell you, and I think that you'll get a kick out of it. Thank you so much. The necktie, where is it from? The necktie is Ralph Marlin, Ralph Marlin. I've had it for a long time. I don't wear it a whole lot because, you know, when you don't want the screamer to take precedence, when you really want the jewelry to take precedence. But I thought today I would wear the screamer tie. I thought it would be much more, shall we say, appealing. Anyway, what else did I want to tell you? Oh, yes, Face of Horror. So remember to vote every day for the free votes. I cannot advertise on Facebook. I've been trying to, even though somewhat sporadically, find other sites to share it on. But for you, you can go to Face of Horror. Oh, I'll post the link. I can't remember what it is right now, but it's something about Face of Horror / faceofhorror.org. I'll post it. But anyway, you can find it on Facebook for those of you who are going there. Vote for me every single day because it will help me out tremendously. I appreciate that more than I can say. Also, I am giving readings. So I everything from 3 cards all the way up to an hour. So if you are in the market to get a reading that you haven't had, if you've been putting it off, there's no time like the present. So make certain that you find me on thegentlemanpsychic.com. And now, one more final thing. Those of you who would like to come to my class on Sunday, we're going to be talking about dream interpretations, dream magic. So you can find me at the University of Magicus University. I always get them to get it reversed. But anyway, one of the above. Come and see me on Sunday for that class. I would love to have you. All right, my darlings. That's about all of my announcements. I love you. I'm so glad that you are here. And we are going to, without further ado, read. Because, like I said, I've been up for quite a long time. And I am going to try to not be sleepy. Though I will tell you this, I have had better energy than I have had in a long time. I have been exercising more. I've been meditating more. I have been focusing on my breath more. And there is nothing that has so far been able to sway my mood. So that is a good thing. Anyway, my loves, without further ado, grab yourself something to drink. As you can see, I've gone back to the water. Grab yourself something to drink, cuddle up if you will. And now we continue with At the Back of the North Wind. Chapter 10. I have now come to the most difficult part of my story. And why? Because I do not know enough about it. And why should I? And why should I not know as much about this part as about any other part? For, of course, I could know nothing about the story except Diamond had told it. And why should not Diamond tell me about the country at the back of the North Wind, as well as about the adventures in getting there? Because, when he came back, he had forgotten a great deal, and what he did remember was very hard to tell. Things there are so different from things here. The people there do not speak the same language, for one thing. Indeed, Diamond insisted that there they do not speak at all. I do not think he was right, but it may well have appeared so to Diamond. The fact is, we have different reports of the place from the most trustworthy people. Therefore, we are bound to believe that it appears somewhat different to different people. All, however, agree in general way about it. I will tell you something of what 2 very different people have reported, both of whom knew more about it, I believe, than Herodotus. One of them speaks from his own experience, for he visited the country, the other from the testimony of the young peasant girl who came back from it for a month's visit for her friends. The former was a great Italian of noble family who died more than 500 years ago, and the latter a Scotch shepherd who died not 40 years ago. The Italian then informs us that he had to enter that country through the fire so hot that he would have thrown himself into boiling glass to cool himself. This was not Diamond's experience, but the Durante, that was the name of the Italian, and it means lasting, for his books will last as long as there are enough men in the world worthy of having them. Durante was an elderly man, and Diamond was a little boy, and so their experience must be a little different. The peasant girl, on the other hand, fell fast asleep in a wood and woke in the same country. In describing it, Durante says that the ground everywhere smelt sweetly, and that a gentle, even-tempered wind, which never blew faster or slower, breathed in his face as he went, making all the leaves point one way, not so as to disturb the birds in the tops of the trees, but, on the contrary, surrounding a, a base to their song. He describes also a little river which was so full that its little waves, as it hurried along, bent the grass, full of red and yellow flowers, through which it flowed. He says that the purest stream in the world, besides this one, would look as if it were mixed with something that did not belong to it, even although it was flowing ever in the brown shadow of the trees, and neither sun nor moon could shine upon it. He seems to imply that it is always the month of May in that country. It could be out of place to describe here the wonderful sights he saw, for the music of them is in another key from that of his story, and I shall therefore only add from the account of this traveller that the people there were so free and so just and so healthy that every one of them was a crown like king and a mitre like a priest. The peasant girl, Kilmeny was her name, could not report such grand things as Durante, for as the shepherd says, telling her story as I tell Diamond's, Kilmeny had been she knew not where, and Kilmeny had seen what she could not declare. Kilmeny had been where the cock never crew, where the rain never fell, and the wind never blew. But it seemed as the harp of the sky had rung, and the airs of heaven played round her tongue, when she spoke of lovely forms so she had seen, and land where sin had never been, a land of love and a land of light, without sun or moon or night, where the river swayed a living stream, and the light a pure and cloudless beam, the land of vision it would seem, and still an everlasting dream. The last two lines are the shepherd's own remark, and a matter of opinion, but it is clear, I think, that Kilmeny must have described the same country as Durante saw, though not having his experience, she could neither understand nor describe it so well. Now, I must give you such fragments of recollections as Diamond was able to bring back with him. When he came to himself after he fell, he found himself at the back of the North Wind. North Wind herself was nowhere to be seen, neither was there the vestige of snow or ice within sight. The sun, too, had vanished, but that was no matter, for there was plenty of a certain still rayless light. Where it came from he never found out, but he thought it belonged to the country itself. Sometimes he thought it came out of the flowers, which were very bright, but had no strong colour. He said the river, for all agree that there is a river there, flowed not only through but over the grass. Its channel insisted of being rock, stones, pebbles, sand, or anything else was of pure meadow grass, not overlong, he insisted, that it did not sing tunes in the people's ears. It sung tunes in their heads, in the proof of which I may mention that in the troubles which followed, Diamond was often heard singing, and when asked what he was singing, would answer, one of the tunes the river at the back of the North Wind sung. And I may as well say at once that Diamond never told these things to anyone but, no, I better not say who it was, but whoever it was told me, and I thought it would be well to write them for my child readers. You could not say he was very happy there, for he had neither his father nor his mother with him, but he felt so still and quiet and patient and contented that as far as the mere feeling went, it was something better than mere happiness. Nothing went wrong at the back of the North Wind, neither was anything quite right, he thought, only everything was going to be right some day. his account disagreed with the nature of Durante and agreed with that of Kilmeny. In this, he protested there was no wind there at all. I fancy he missed it. At all events, we could not do without wind. It all depends on how big our lungs are, whether the wind is too strong for us or not. When the person he told about asked him whether he saw anybody he knew there, he answered, "Only a little girl belonging to the gardener, who thought he had lost her, but was quite mistaken, for there she was, safe enough, and was to come back to some day, as I came back, if they would only wait." Did you talk to her, Diamond? No, nobody talks there. They only look at each other and understand everything. Is it cold there? No. Is it hot? No. What is it then? You never think about such things there. What a queer place it must be. It's a very good place. Do you want to go back again? No, I don't think I ever I don't think I have ever left it. I feel it here, somewhere. Did the people there look pleased? Yes, quite pleased. Only a little sad. Then they didn't look glad. They looked as if they were waiting to be gladder some day. This was how Diamond used to answer questions about that country. And now I will take up the story again and let you know he got back to his country. Chapter 11. How Diamond got home. When one at the back of the North Wind wanted to know how things were going with any one he loved, he had to go to a certain tree, climb the stem, and sit down in the branches. In a few minutes, if he kept very still, he would see something at least of what was going on the people he loved. One day, Diamond was sitting in his tree. He began to long very much to get home again, and no wonder, for he saw his mother crying. Durante says that the people there may always follow their wishes because they never wish but what is good. Diamond's wish was to get home, and he would fain follow his wish. But how was he to set about it? If he could only see North Wind. But the moment he had got to her back, she was gone altogether from his sight. He had never seen her back. She might be sitting on the doorstep still, looking southwards and waiting, white and thin and blue-eyed, until she was wanted, or she might have again become a mighty creature with a power to do that which was demanded of her, and gone far away upon many missions. She must be somewhere, however. He could not go home without her, and therefore he must find her. She could never have intended to leave him always away from his mother. If there had been any danger of that, she would have told him and given him the choice about going, for North Wind was right honest. How to find the North Wind therefore occupied all his thoughts. In his anxiety about his mother, he used to climb the tree every day and sit in its branches. However, many of the dwellers there did so. They never incommoded one another. For the moment one got into the tree, he became invisible to everyone else, and it was such a wide-spreading tree that there was room for every one of the people of the country in it, without the least interference with each other. Sometimes, on getting down, two of them would meet the root, and they would smile to each other more sweetly than at any other time, as much as to say, "Ah, you've been up there too." One day he was sitting on one of the outer branches of the tree, looking southwards after his home. Far away was a blue shining sea, dotted with gleaming and sparkling specks of white. Those were icebergs. Nearer he saw a great range of snow-capped mountains, and down below him the lovely meadow grass of the country, with a stream flowing and flowing through it away towards the sea. As he looked, he began to wonder, for the whole country lay beneath him like a map, and that which was near him looked just as small as that which he knew to be miles away. The ridge of ice which encircled it appeared but a few yards off, and no longer than the row of pebbles with which a child will mark out the boundaries of the kingdom he was appropriated on the seashore. He thought he could distinguish the vapory form of the north wind, seated as he had left her on the other side. Hastily, he descended the tree, and to his amazement found that the map or model of the country still lay at his feet. He stood in it. With one stride he had crossed over the river. With another he had reached the ridge of ice. With a third, he stepped over its peaks and sank wearily down at North Wind's knees. For there she sat on her doorstep. She speaks of the great ridge of ice, where the loft of ice were as lofty as ever behind her, and the country at her back had vanished from Diamond's view. North Wind was as still as Diamond had left her. Her pale face was white as snow, and her motionless eyes were as blue as the caverns of ice. But the instant Diamond touched her, her face began to change, like that of one waking from a sleep. Light began to glimmer from her blue eyes. A moment more, and she laid her hand on Diamond's head and began playing with his hair. Diamond took hold of her hand and laid his face to it. She gave a little start. "How very alive you are, child," she murmured. "Come nearer to me." But the help of the stones all around, he clambered up beside her and laid himself against her bosom. She gave a great sigh, slowly lifted her arms, and slowly folded them about, until she clasped him close. Yet a moment, and she roused herself, that came quite awake, and the cold of her bosom, which had pierced Diamond's bones, vanished. "Have you been sitting here ever since I went through you, dear North Wind?" asked Diamond, stroking her hand. "Yes," she answered, looking at him with her old kindness. "Ain't you very tired?" "No, I have often had to sit longer." "Do you know how long you've been?" "Oh, years and years," answered Diamond. "You must have been 7 days," returned North Wind. "I thought I'd been 100 years," exclaimed Diamond. "Yes, I dare say," replied North Wind. "You've been away from here 7 days, but how long you may have been in there is quite another thing. Behind my back and before my face, things are so different. They don't go at all by the same rule." "I'm very glad," said Diamond, after thinking a while. "Why?" asked the North Wind. "Because I've been such a long time there, and such a little while away from Mother. Why, she won't be expecting me home for a set from Sandwich yet." "No, but we mustn't talk any longer. I've got my orders now, and we must be off in a few minutes." Next moment, Diamond found himself sitting alone on the rock. North Wind had vanished. A creature like the great humble bee or the cockchafer flew past his face, but it could be neither, for there were no insects amongst the ice. It passed him again and again, flying in circles about him, and he considered that it must be the North Wind herself, no bigger than Tom Thumb, when his mother put him in the nutshell lined with a flannel. But she was no longer vapory and thin. She was solid, although tiny. A moment more, and she perched on his shoulder. "Come along, Diamond," she said in his ear, in the smallest and highest of treble voices. "It is time we were setting out for Sandwich." Diamond could just see her by turning his head towards his shoulder as far as he could, but only with one eye, for his nose came between her and the other. "Won't you take me in your arms and carry me?" he said in a whisper, for he knew she did not like a loud voice when she was small. "Ah, you ungrateful boy," returned North Wind, smiling. "How dare you make game of me? Yes, I will carry you, but you shall walk a bit for your impertinence first. Come along." So she jumped from his shoulder, but when Diamond looked for her upon the ground, he could see nothing but a little spider with long legs that made its way over the ice toward the south. It ran very fast indeed for a spider, but Diamond ran a long way before it, and then waited for it. It was up with him sooner than he had expected, however, when it had grown a good deal, and the spider grew and grew and went faster and faster, till at once Diamond discovered that it was not a spider but a weasel, and away glided the weasel, and away went Diamond after it, and it took all the run there took all the run there was in him to keep up with the weasel. And the weasel grew and grew and grew, till at once Diamond saw that the vessel was not a weasel but a cat, and a cat went the cat, and away went that cat, and Diamond after it. And then, when he had run half a mile, he found a cat waiting for him, sitting up, washing her face, not to lose time. And away went the cat again, and Diamond after her. But the next time he came upon the cat was not a cat, but a hunting leopard. And the hunting leopard grew into a jaguar, all covered with spots like eyes. And then the jaguar grew to a Bengal tiger. And at none of them was Diamond afraid, for he had been at North Wind's back, and he could be afraid of her no longer, whatever she did or grew. And the tiger flew over the snow in a straight line for the south, growing less and less to Diamond's eyes till it was very black speck upon the whiteness, and then it vanished altogether. And now Diamond felt that he would rather not run away further, and that the ice had got it very rough. Besides, he was near the precipices that bounded the city, so he slackened his pace to a walk, saying aloud to himself, "When North Wind has punished me enough for making a game of her, she will come back to me. I know she will, for I can't go much further without her. Oh, dear boy, it was only in fun. Here I am," said North Wind's voice behind him. Diamond turned and saw her, as he liked best to see her, standing beside him, a tall lady. "Where's the picture?" he asked, for he knew all creatures from a picture book with Miss Coleman had given him. But, of course, she added, "you were the tiger." I was puzzled and forgot I saw it as such a long way off before me, and there you were behind me. It was so odd, you know. "I must look very odd to you, Diamond. I see that. But it's no more odd to me than to break an old pine in two." "Well, that's odd enough," remarked Diamond. "So it is odd enough," remarked Oh, well, that's odd enough, remarked Diamond. "So it is, I forgot. Well, none of these things are odder to me than it is to you to eat bread and butter." "Well, that's odd too, when I think of it," persisted Diamond. "I should just like a slice of bread and butter. I'm afraid to say how long it seems to me, that is, since I had anything to eat." "Come on," said the North Wind, stooping and holding out her arms. "You shall have some of the bread and butter very soon. I am glad to find you want some." Diamond held his arms to meet hers, and was safe upon her bosom. North Wind bounded into the air, Her tresses began to lift, the rise and the spread of the stream and flow of the flutter, and with a roar from her hair and an answering roar from one of the great glaciers beside them, whose slow torrent tumbled 2 or 3 icebergs at once into the waves at their feet. North Wind and Diamond went flying southwards. I think, my darlings, that must be where I end. I know it is early. I know it's half an hour earlier than we intended, but I find that my eyelids are getting very heavy, and it is getting more difficult to read as they are because it's been a very long day for me. Nonetheless, my darlings, we will be back next week. Hell forbidding, hell whatever. I'll be back here next week. Again, make certain to vote for me on Face of Horror and come to see me at University Magicus. I love you much. I will see you when I see you. Take care, my dears. Good night.